Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. Happy April's Fool's Day. I got my favorite fool here with me today, Mr. BigBeat. How you doing, buddy?
You know,
That
I
was a
usually
compliment.
I usually like your openings, but not this morning. Just kidding. Look, it is April Fool's Day. I mean, we're gonna be shocked tomorrow, right, when the markets really don't fall apart, because of quote Liberation Day. I don't even know what that means. Is it we're storming the beaches of Normandy like World War II? Is this like an all-out war? I think the markets are taking this in stride right now, and I think that's what's happening, right? So look, you're not seeing the massive sell-off. You're seeing gold at 31.33. Now, silver, hey, this morning 34.70 at some point. And now I think it's at 33.93. The markets are just in balance right now. So the one thing I really am concerned about is the bond market's really out of whack right now. The 10-year now sitting here. When look at the dollar, the Dixie first, 104.20, 104.32.
Right.
Now you heard Steve Flanagan talk about that he liked the dollar against the MEX, right? The peso. I agree, but when you look at the 10-year, 4.173 falling down now, that means people are still rushing to buy bonds, whether that's international, which we're not seeing, or whether that is countries buying our bonds. I don't know, but that's the 10-year, right? I will say that the futures curve is inverted again. So that's always a good sign of the big bet R word, recession. So gotta be careful here.
Yeah, and what Steve's talking about there is you're getting better rates to buy shorter term yield than buying longer term yield. So
It means the government's running out of money.
Yeah. So let's yeah. Tick has been sort of negative for the start of the day, but advanced decline up about 287. We will say in a positive way, Dow Jones rebounded yesterday. Once that VIX got down below that 24 level I talked about, you sort of started to see that melt up that I thought would happen. I am watching the VIX this morning in an opposite way, although it does look like it's now moving back to the downside. It was climbing up here over the last, 730 area. I was getting a little bit nervous. It is now falling back down, but VIX is what I'm going to be keeping my eye on today to start off as a predecessor to movement in the market. Anything back above 24, I'll start to get a little bit more bearish here. I did like the buying I saw yesterday in general, Steve. QQQ basically finished flat. It was down almost 2 points when we left at 10 o'clock. SPY, ended up 67 basis points, and the Dow Jones up a percentage point. So it isn't as doom and gloom as they'd have you believe on TV, quite honestly, when you figure out where we actually ended.
Well, yesterday, I've been saying this for a while. I saw my first gold commercial on CNBC. So that is a good sign that the run in gold is over, as gold companies are trying to sell their gold back to you. The first one I saw was a Kennedy gold coin, the $50. And that's not quite what I'm looking for yet. I'm looking for, hey, buy gold, buy gold, buy gold, and flashy symbols. That's when I really get nervous about the gold market and go, ooh, guess what? It's over. So start shorting gold. We're not seeing that yet, but that was the first commercial that I saw, and they had not had any gold commercials on for a while. So get ready. The gold markets are going to fall back down.
Okay. Yeah. You always talk about that. Keep an eye when they're doing that. They're trying to sell it to you. We'd have to ask our man, Peter Thomas, but as he's been talking, nobody's really got much to sell from what it sounded like.
That's right. Yeah. Yep.
So that would be the question.
Which makes the gold miners more valuable, right? If you're running out of gold to sell, then you need to be able to go get some gold. So the miners hire a bunch of people to go dig more gold out of the ground.
And with that being said, one of the early morning movers here has been Freeport McMoRan, FCX here. They just gave good guidance. They didn't have an earnings report, but they gave their guidance. Let me get the numbers here. They did say that their copper production was meeting and exceeding expectations, with consolidated sales projected at 850 million pounds, aligning with their January 2025 guidance. Their gold sales, though, they anticipated to be 100,000 ounces below the initial guidance, primarily due to deferred shipment from their Indonesian company, so having trouble getting that moved. I wonder if that has to do with the Houthis and some of the issues there. They obviously don't want to put it on a boat and get attacked, but usually they use planes.
Right.
So we'll see what happens there. Oh, it says right here. They resumed the concentrate exports on March 17th. So they had been under restrictions since the end of the year. So Indonesia picking up will help. Their stock had been moving up a little bit here today, up almost a full percentage point. One of the better early moving risers here this morning. So they're also in the news, Steve. One of the biggest downgrades so far has been Johnson & Johnson, who judges refused to accept their bankruptcy settlement here. So the company is now saying they are going to face each of these suits individually in court. So they vow to fight individual claims in court. It's a big difference. And the bankruptcy judge said that they felt that there were voting irregularities in the voting process among personal injury claimants, including unreasonably short voting periods. So stock has been down about 3% after that.
I mean, they're fighting for their lives. I mean, Johnson Johnson's a large company, and they're fighting for their lives. But look, every company has to go through something bad. You can look at UNH as another example of that, right?
Yeah.
But their stock's back up now. So they just have to get through whatever they have to get through, pay their lawyers off, pay their people off, and get back to work. They did it, and they've been sued, and they lost, right? And they need to pay the bill. They had the right as Americans, companies, and to be able to fight that in in several courts, but no.
Yep. On one of those, I didn't have that in my book here. Newsmax makes its Dow Jones debut yesterday, and you want to talk about a move to the upside? You don't see many charts like that, huh, Steve?
No, I don't. I don't really understand Newsmax. It's about as non-news and non-max as I can get to. I don't really understand it, but
$10 billion valuation now.
If you looked at the DJT stock at the beginning of their IPO, you can see the exact same thing run right up, and then people inside the inside just sold into you. I would not be buying this stock at all.
Yeah, I'm definitely not following something that was up 700% by any means. And as I said to you earlier, I would be shorting too for the same thing. And you're going to see the FOMO today. There's going to be a lot of people that get burnt, in my personal opinion, buying.
The breakup value is not there, right? It's definitely not worth the company.
Yeah, they didn't value themselves at that. They did the IPO. I mean, you decide with the banker on what what it's going to be. So that's going to be interesting one to watch here today for sure. A lot of the movement today, Steve, has, which is sort of nice, has been based upon analyst, on expectations on numbers, not just on tariffs. First one I saw was Alta, which is up about 2.44% here. It's had a pretty good run since bottoming out mid-March here, back up at 375. They did got an upgrade, like I said, from Goldman Sachs. So we're seeing them move to the upside. I have a few others on these ratings. CrowdStrike's another one. They're up about 1.44% after Stevens initiates a overweight and $450 price target, them trading at 357 today. And then you saw Jeffries move them to 410 from 425. So that has them moving up. Barclays also got in the gap on Pinnacle West.
Yeah, I'm looking at looking at MSTR up 1.64% here.
Yep, one of the bigger gainers in the morning. MSTR, you're seeing Rigetti. A couple of Chinese names on some news that China had its best manufacturing numbers in 12 months. So we've seen NEO move to the upside here on that news, along with a few others. NEO up about 2.1% on that news. So most of the other Chinese names, BABA was up slightly, and some of the others. So we were seeing a little bit of a move to the upside. BABA up 42 basis points here so far. So again, Chinese names getting a little bit of love. JD up 41 basis points also.
Tesla's sales in Denmark is down 65.8%.
Down
Wow.
40%. I do have a ticker for that here. Sales fell by 40% in France. I will say Wall Street is still expecting them to deliver for their deliveries to be improved this quarter.
You know, it's interesting because that we've been hearing from this Liberation Day there's 25% tariff on everybody. And now we're hearing from the WAPO that the White House is now considering 20% tariff on most imports. That's a little different than hitting everybody up and saying most imports. I'm not really sure what that is, Howard. What are those?
Yeah, I can't get my arms around what the strategy is. Does he have a strategy? It seems like he's just throwing darts at a board right now to get to the right answer.
He says that Liberation Day, according to the Wall Street Journal, the Liberation Day tariff plan, but doesn't reveal the actual plan, but to raise revenue and negotiate with other countries. So he's saying that he doesn't necessarily want to put the tariffs on. He just wants to use it as a negotiating tool.
Right. So hopefully that will get markets, but it doesn't. Tick is still negative. I think people just don't, because it's the tweet that comes out in the next 10 minutes is going to be what matters next.
Ellen Barkin now saying Fed governor says 2019 framework doesn't feel contemporary. Let me explain what that means. That's interesting. Okay. So what she's saying is that we are going off numbers and data from 2019. Okay. She's saying that how we get our data and how we implement our data into making decisions is not up to speed. Wow, how long have I been saying that, Howard?
Yeah,
that their news is behind. They need Quasar markets, right? They need to get their news faster. They need to understand their data better. And it's right. It's not. You know, that's in think about it in the computer terms. I mean, I don't even have a 2019 computer in my office, right? I mean, that's the key, right? So they're saying the same data that they were getting as if they were getting it. JOLTS numbers, things like that. 2019 don't fit in this 2025 mold here. And I agree with that. I'm
right. We've been saying that for a long time. You've been preaching that for sure, without a doubt. Tick still negative here. Advanced declines come down under 300 here. So we're not seeing a ton of movement. Q's getting ready to open down about 24 basis points, SPY about 28. So very muted start to our day so far. Bitcoin did make a nice recovery, got back to above 84, almost 84.5, now back down at 83.8. So a little profit taking there. As Steve said, gold continues to surge to the upside, 31.34, and hit a new all-time high of 31.49 overnight.
She goes on to say that the bond market is pricing in a recession risk. We just said that this morning. I mean, that is exactly what we said this morning. I agree. Recession is coming. I said that again this morning, the big bad R word. Wow, this is interesting here.
Yeah, we'll say airlines have been getting hit pretty hard here so far today after seeing a bunch of different downgrades. You've got Love down 1.91%, Delta down 1.65%, and UAL down 1.2%. So big losses across the industry. And it looks like we might come back down to the lows we saw yesterday there on some of these airlines. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure. Overnight, the overseas markets, the stocks was up slightly here, up almost a full percentage point here, 98 basis points. Again, Europe outperforming, U.S. equities outperforming, European equities outperforming U.S. equities in the last few months. We also see that, as I mentioned, China, with their strong manufacturing numbers, up about 38 basis points. The one that keeps on getting hit, though, Steve, is Japan. Now down, the Nikkei down another 1.6% here And really fallen to low levels here. 35,402.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just reading once again the 10-year and the 3-month Treasury spread just went negative again, it inverted again. That's really bad news. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. We'll say most commodities were moving, like I said, to the upside. You had gold. Silver was retracing a little bit because it made a strong move up yesterday, challenged the highs that we had seen in mid-October. So didn't break to an all-time high at 34.20, 34.86 is that high. Or I should say 52-week high because I don't know what it went to during the Hunt's time there. But trying to make a move there, Steve. You think you can break to all-time highs?
No. Oh, I don't think so.
Okay. Dow Jones finished the day yesterday up about a percentage point. As I said, the SPY finished up nicely, about 67 basis points, and the Q pretty flat. So we're seeing that oil has continued to rise here. We see the WTI now at 71.32. So it's definitely been moving to the upside. And when we talk about gas, one of the sectors that has outperformed has been, the XLE. It was up about 1.3% on Monday. And again, as I mentioned, we've seen WTI jump almost 3.1%, and Brent crude has been up 2.5%. So we are definitely seeing, more and more oil prices move to the upside.
Yeah, I'm going to show my chart here. I want to pull up a pretty strong chart here. So I'm going to, what I mean by the 10-year and the 3-month. Share my screen here. You can see here that in this chart, sorry, got it?
No, you have to add it again. Sorry, mine was.
No problem. Got it there. No problem. Okay, so you can probably see my 10-year chart, the bond yield, right? Normally, when the 3-month is underneath, we saw that back in 2020. I'll go back a little bit. Right here it is, 2020. This is the 3-month here, and the Heikin-Ashi angles here. That is the candlestick. That is the 10-year. And when it inverts like that, that's really a bad time. Now, we know that was during COVID, so we expected that, right, where the yields went pretty much nothing, right? But as we started to move up, the 10-year started to pass up and went up. And, of course, the 3-month caught up a little bit and got back normal right around November of 2022. You can see where the 3-month continued to push up. The 10-year started to push down. That's a good sign. That's when you started to see the markets really rally and go crazy and to the upside. But then the 3 months started to pull down with the 10-year. And then eventually now you can see it here where the 3-month and the 10-year are almost the same. And actually this morning, the 10-year went inverted. So this is usually not a good sign. You can see right here the 10-year yield right there with inversion for a forward curve. Is in backwardation. So that's not a good sign for recession for those of you who are looking at this.
Yep, absolutely. We're seeing more and more kinks in the armor, so to speak, when it comes to that. So far, we do see utilities ready to open, hopefully on the green here, up about 13 basis points, in real estate up about 26 basis points. The rest of the Spider Select look to be opening on the downside. Bitcoin has regained 83,500, actually 83,600 here, so a nice move to the upside. TIX is staying pretty negative, but it isn't moving advanced decline, sitting right around 300 there, sort of in no man's land. And as I've mentioned, the VIX at 2247. I'm definitely wary if it breaks above this 2344 area. So that's what I'll be keeping an eye on this morning. The VIX, I think, will lead us to our direction of the day. We'll see an AutoZone again, moving to the upside a little bit here. Had a good day yesterday, an up day yesterday, 1.11%. Again, we know car dealers are really at the mercy, so to speak, of these tariffs. So, people are going to try to fix their cars, get them to work longer. And you can see the AutoZone trying to surge to an all-time high yesterday. So. mentioned Alibaba. We're seeing, as we said too, some of those gas and utility stocks, CEG here, Constellation Energy up 39 basis points here, Berkshire up slightly, not very much. Coinbase, all the crypto stocks seem to be moving to the upside today. You've got Coinbase up about 78 basis points. You had, as Steve pointed out, Micro Strategy up 1.61%, Mara's up 1.39, one of the bigger, if not the biggest Bitcoin mining company. So a bunch of them moving to the upside so far, winners here this morning. But that is really a reverse of yesterday's loss. Banks getting hit pretty hard here. Also this morning, we see JP Morgan down about 54 basis points. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, all slated so far to open to the downside. Japanese bank Mitsubishi down 2% here. Again, we talked about it. SMFG, another of the Japanese trading houses, Sumitomo Mitsu, they're down 2.13%. So Japan getting smacked pretty hard here. If you look at the yen yet, give me 1 second here. You can see the yen's down about 31 basis points versus the dollar here at 149.48. 60 is climbing, as Steve mentioned, also back almost 104.31, so just below that 104.45 area. Mr. Flanagan warned about his upside resistance. See what we get there as we approach that.
Yeah, I mean, we're really just waiting on tomorrow, Liberation Day. We're waiting on what he's calling Liberation Day. And I think today will be a slow trading day, to be honest with you. I think he'll be nervous, but I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I just think, I would say some sideways action could get a little bit of momentum going. Again, if the VIX can stay down, I think a lot of people are looking at that right now. So we'll keep an eye there. Yeah, it melted up nicely yesterday, like I said. Just, once the VIX came down, people slowly but surely bought into their positions, sort of what we talked about, right? We are about 7 minutes from the open here. Mag 7 so far. Tesla is up about 1.79%, even with those terrible numbers coming in from Europe. Expected, at least by Wall Street analysts, that's going to get picked up here in the U.S. or overseas, I guess, in Asia, which would really be China. So we'll see if that's the case. NVIDIA up 40 basis points. Steve, you made a nice move there, buying that down at under 105, if I remember correctly, yesterday.
Correct.
Now,
yeah, 105.15. Yeah.
Yeah, 108.81. So I had mentioned I bought it in the pre-market yesterday. I did already sell out of that. I'm going mostly neutral at night, so I'm just taking that. I do have a long NVIDIA position already, so that was a scalp. Apple down about 78 basis points. It was the big winner yesterday. It was up almost 2%, so a little bit of a reversion trade there happening this morning, some profit taking. Microsoft and Google both slated to move to the downside about 25 basis points, and Amazon down about 1 percentage point here so far in the pre-market. I mentioned the crypto stocks, pretty much all of them in the green today. It looks like led by Hut. Do have to mention that Hut is partnering with the Trump family's Bitcoin mining company, American Bitcoin First, and they claim they're going to become the biggest Bitcoin mining company in the United States. Hut 8 is going to be the major stockholder of the new company. I think it was 80% of the stock will be held by Hut 8 and 20% there, but they are going to merge. They're up 2.6% on that news. It's interesting. Hut 8 has really evolved because they were at first really dedicated more to Ethereum mining and had to sort of introduce themselves in other areas after Ethereum moved from proof of work to proof of stake. It has done a nice job, nice move up. This merger should be pretty good for them. I would say it's going to be interesting to see what that does to the partnership that MicroStrategy has with Tesla to build Bitcoin mining centers together in Texas. So that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on there, but we are seeing nice moves up by all of the crypto names today. Restaurants, again, I guess people were listening to us yesterday. The fast food chains which are considered to be some of the most insulated from the tariff situations. They buy all this stuff, domestically. They sell a lot of it domestically. They were up. McDonald's 1.72% yesterday. You can see QSR was up 3.29%. They were also slated to be up today. The other one that I saw that was the same type of situation was Keurig Dr. Pepper, up 1.42% yesterday, up another 2.25%. Not really much besides the analyst upgrades that has this moving that I could find in the news. So,
yeah, I mean, Keurig Dr. Pepper makes coffee and owns Dr. Pepper, and they have a pretty good slew of things that they own. But
I'm
you
a
just
big
said yourself,
Snapple fan. They're Snapple.
yeah,
I'm a big Snapple fan.
yeah. I mean, I will say that they're insulated, right? Because they're our U.S. company selling U.S. products, so they're really kind of insulated, except for the coffee. Coffee prices could go through the roof. I really think that Starbucks might really hurt a little bit because they are such an international company now, and that you're starting to see countries like Canada and Mexico having an anti-American policy where they might not even go
And
in.
coffee's what in Canada, one of the ones that they're sort of rallying around. Go to to their
Tim
name.
Horton, right? Yeah,
Although Tim Horton is traded on the Nasdaq.
yeah.
But it is a foreign-based company, yeah. But yeah, I'm a big. They have Tim Hortons around me here. Well,
Oh yeah.
you grew up with Tim Hortons, right? Illinois.
No, not really. I mean, when I'm in Canada and when I'm around north, I see Tim Hortons, but
Yeah,
obviously
we got a
moving.
lot of them here in my area.
All right.
They're all around. I gotta be honest. I've never had one. I
I
love
went
donuts.
once. Yeah, I went once. But
But I love donuts. But we got a couple of really good local spots around us that are Donut House is my favorite. Donut Palace.
okay.
We do daddy daughter dates all the time for the donuts there. I do want to give a shout out to my man Arnold and to Jay in Tip City. Hope you guys are having a good start to your day today. Markets are moving up, like I said. DGNX is another one. Pre-market yesterday was up and then got destroyed. Was then down 6.5 to 3%, up 5.93. That is DigiNX. I only bring it up because again, it was just the volatility between yesterday's pre-market where it ended up and then back today. Just caught my eye as one that was interesting. Another one, MLGO up 34.5%. Micro Algo, and it jumped after they Waimai increased their stake here. So Chinese name moving to the upside here, one of those penny pumpers, so to speak. But what caught my eye there was more the volume, 50 million in volume so far in the pre-market. So that could be one of those pumpers to keep an eye on if you like to play those ones there. Another one coming back from the dead a little bit, Steve, today I saw was Mullen Automotive up about 9.33%. So I just thought that was interesting in the ones that was up so far this morning. GE Verona up about 1.55%. Micron up 1.85. So we do have some winners. A lot of these, again, are based upon upgrade, City upgrade Micron. So that has them moving to the upside. I mentioned CrowdStrike, which is up 1.74%. Got two upgrades. Mentioned FCX, which is Freeport McMoran, up after giving good forward guidance. PNW, which is Pinnacle West, up on good analyst move. Analyst reports, also upgrades. So does seem like the analysts are moving the needle today, Steve, more than anything else.
Yeah. Well, when you don't have anything to talk about, let's talk about something, right? I mean, I think that's the key, right? Is that you're starting to see the guidance of these companies that were bad during the earnings season. That maybe we're starting to see that now again, right? Where these firms are saying, okay, hey, you know what? I'm going to take these companies at the word. I see what's going on Liberation Day. I see what's going on in tariffs. I see, okay, you know what? We're going to start hitting these companies now. When I start to see that, then that's usually when I start to look at buying things, right? Let it settle out. They're going to buy back. There's no doubt about that. Here we are in the opening bell right now, starting out now negative 800 tick here, and but I don't know. I don't see anything here that I want to buy or sell. Nothing.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit on my hand for a little bit. We say that, but that's what we said yesterday. And then as soon as Nvidia drops, we get in. We got to play the market in front of us. Steve, I do want to talk quickly. I know we're watching this open, but I see a good one here by Dividend Growth Investor about our friend Warren Buffett, and it talks about. I've had a lot of people tell me you can't invest long term anymore. You still can. You need to do it correctly. You need to have. Yeah, and a perfect example is Berkshire Hathaway bought $1.3 billion in Coca-Cola back a long time ago, and they've been holding it for a long time. And today he received a check for $204 million on their dividend, and they generate $804 million on their dividend from their Coca-Cola. Again, they paid $1.3 billion for their initial position. They now get paid out $804 million a year in dividends alone.
Yes, and you know what? That's a recession protection, all right? When you get those checks. Look at this. Ellen Barkin now saying the bond market is pricing in more recession risk. We've been talking about that all morning long, all week long, and it looks like the Fed is starting to realize that things are actually happening. So I would expect this to be a Fed cut next meeting. And I asked Steve Flanagan yesterday if there will be an intermeeting cut. If that's the case, then that could be really bad. 109 now on Nvidia. Those of you who follow me,
could you explain a little bit more about that? Why that? What that is? When it happened last, so to speak, and you know why it's so bad.
Yeah, I mean, it shocks the market, right? The Fed is saying, hey, we don't need to cut rates because inflation's going up, and when inflation's not going up and people are losing their jobs, they're not going out and they're not buying Coca-Cola, they're not buying at the restaurants, they're not buying to keep the economy going, and that puts a damper on everything. And so people aren't buying homes, and that's our biggest asset class, right? So you need to lower those rates so people can borrow, so companies can borrow money so they can rebuild and do more things with. And that's why you needed to do that. But when you cut intermeeting, that means they messed up, and that did happen several times in the Fed. And when it does, it shocks the market, and then it says, okay, there's more to this than just we need to cut rates to help spiff up the market a bit. There's more to this, and what happens is you'll see a massive sell-off. So look, I don't want to see that. I want to see nice, even, and clean.
Right. And it also admits defeat and mistake, right? Because they have the X amount of times a year that they do meet on their monthly, or sometimes it's every other month.
Well, they've made a mistake. I'll tell them that one. I don't have to worry about that. They've been making a mistake, and they're now acknowledging it. But what are they doing? They're dumping it right before Liberation Day. They're dumping it on days where the news is heavy, right? That's what they're doing. And I don't like it, right? If you're going to talk about the Fed, tell us what's going on, right? But that right there told me that the market's probably going to go push back up because there is going to be a rate cut pretty soon.
And we do see Q's moving to the upside here. We are trying to get a little bit more towards neutral here. We're down about.
I say all last week and the week before, your charts don't mean crap when it comes to the news. And here it is, right? Ellen Barkin telling you the recession is coming. They're going to cut rates, and bam, the Q's just jump. Right, and that right there is faster than your fingers can type it in, right? And people getting burnt. So I'm telling people just sit on your hands for a little bit today. I'm not telling you whether to buy or sell. You can do it yourself, right? But I don't like this market right here. So no, wow.
VIX is starting to move a little bit further up. It had dropped right on the open here, but it is moving back up slightly. 2264. Tick is down 485. Advanced decline down about 1400 here. And after making that move to the upside, Q's now not liking that news.
They're waking up. They're like, oh, wait a minute. The world's not that good. And she's telling you that. So
yeah, seeing that move to the downside. Dow is the leading to the downside, down about 55 basis points, although right there in the same run there. So small cap Dow Jones Industrials down, SPY down 44, Q's now down 35 basis points. So we are seeing some weakness. Bitcoin continuing to move to the upside, 83,650 area now. Gold on that news hasn't really moved that much, 3131. So it isn't scaring the gold people one way or the other. So we'll keep an eye there.
Lots of data today, though. I mean, I think that's another piece that we're waiting on a little bit.
We'll say Rigetti, the AI name that I mentioned, was up in the pre-market, now down 2.4%. So we are seeing some of these names get sold off sort of quickly here on any kind of move to the upside. On the other side of that, though, our Dr. Pepper that we love up 2.57%, continuing to move to the upside. Like to see that. Tesla has pulled back down. It was up 1.5% this morning. Now give back about half of that, up about 73 basis points. Same thing. Micron was up 1.8% this morning, now only up 62 basis points, actually at the low of the cash market. CrowdStrike giving back some of those gains. So some of those early analyst gains that you saw are getting sold off here at the open.
All right, manufacturing numbers coming in here in about, looks like about 8 minutes now. And you'll see construction spending at 10 o'clock and ISM numbers. So some serious numbers coming in here.
And again, Mag 7 so far, 5 of the 7 opening to the downside. Google and Tesla are slightly green. Tesla back up over 1 percentage point. A little bit of momentum, although that thing is volatile this morning. Lots of trading there. As I look at the Spider Select, we see XLP, which is consumer staples, move to the upside about 23 basis points. We see the communication sector is pretty much flat. All the others have opened to the downside. We don't really have a big loser. Nothing's down more than 1 percentage point. Healthcare getting hit today. Healthcare was a winner most of yesterday. So that is just a reversal again of what we saw yesterday. And we still do see some of those moving to the upside. Merck up 70 basis points. Concora up 49 basis points. UNH up 50 basis points. Elevance up 37. And big winner so far, Cigna up almost a full percentage point. Same with Moline.
Canada's March manufacturing PMI now coming in at 46.3 versus 47.8 in February. Yeah, I mean, Canada's manufacturing is slowing down too. And it could because of the tariffs, right? I mean, Canada won't make as much.
Yeah, they don't have anybody to sell it to. Okay, we do see Q's now down 0.5 percentage point, so we are sliding and continuing to slide here. But again, we'll warn, this is what we saw yesterday morning, and then once everything sort of started to clear up, profit taken sort of went away, and we actually saw a nice little move to the upside. In between us closing at 10 here and the market's closing at 4. So
we're hearing that Democrat-led U.S. states are now suing the Department of Health and Human Services, Robert Kennedy's Secretary Kennedy. I'll make a prediction here, and I do it all the time. I don't think he'll be this HHA secretary for a long time.
Yeah. I'm
Both
with you
sides
there.
like him, you know, you can't say. Yeah. Are we seeing Newsmax still pushing here?
Great question. I haven't looked at it.
Wow.
Yeah, up another 44%. Holy cripers, 133. It did hit 147.90 yesterday.
Yeah.
Again, don't FOMO into this.
Yeah, the tick down 500 and the advanced decline down 2,200. People aren't liking these numbers. I don't like these numbers. I mean, I'm now getting nervous now because I don't like this stuff. I mean, this is not short term. This is long term problems. I heard the other day someone say something like, "Oh, this is short term pain for long term gain." No, it's not. If we continue to keep these tariffs on, it's going to hurt us. Longer term, it usually does.
Yep, absolutely. You
Back
know,
how we
so
did it was called a depression back in the 20s. So no, we don't want this. Oh, well, Barkendale says tariffs to present challenges to inflation and employment. So she's going on. She's having a large talk today.
yeah, she is definitely sprinkling the infield here today.
Yeah.
MasterCard just in developing a blockchain-powered payment network to enable seamless fiat to crypto transactions for banks and consumers. So MasterCard, which had done a lot of tests with Ripple and other companies back, before the Biden years, set in a good spot here to maybe be one of the winners to adopt and get into the crypto to TradFi
We're hearing
world.
reports now that 8 members of OPEC said that they have been making voluntary oil output cuts, that they'll also meet on Thursday. That could be a problem. Oil probably could push back up. Yeah, 71, 77 now on the oil here, back over $70. So oil could be higher. That would also add to inflation, to add to just like it's a spiraling out of control here. When you tariff countries that have oil too, up 62% now on Newsmax. Wow.
Yeah, I'm watching it right here.
Remember the same thing happened to DJT. It went straight up like this, and then
so
all
we
the
pull up
insiders
DJT.
then all the insiders dumped on everybody, and that was the end of that game. So pull up a daily chart, and you'll see exactly what happened. Yeah, see here. Yeah. So be careful here. That's what happened on day 1 and 2. So the same thing will probably happen here as insiders dump.
It hit as high as 175. It's now at 19.6.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no way for a regular retail trader to short this yet.
Not yet. But the insiders will sell it.
All right, this is where institutions clean up, because right now they're
right now they are there's a blackout period, right, for selling. But when they open that blackout period for insiders, then that's when the trouble is going to happen, right?
Yeah. Tick sort of there we go, positive. I was going to say neutral. We actually went positive there. We are seeing a little bit of a move back to the upside, like I said.
83.8 on Bitcoin.
Yeah. Q's back up at 467 here. SPY above 557. So we're seeing some pretty good moves back up here as we get a little bit more calmed down, as that first initial sell-off gets moved off that we've seen pretty much every day recently. We'll keep an eye on it. See if Bank's not really moving back to the upside. Banks are just not in a spot on that I think is very exciting. Okay, let's take a look at the chips here. We got NVIDIA down a half a percentage point here, down at 107.76. We see Broadcom down a half a point, but TSM up 44 basis points, ASML up slightly, and Micron now regaining a little bit of momentum. It had to drop down. It was up 1.8, 1.9% in the pre-market, now back up almost a full percentage point. So we are seeing some of these names that had got some analyst upgrades. A little sell-off as the markets open. They are moving back up to the upside a little bit since that here, so good to see that.
Yeah, I was just showing here now that Canada's manufacturing sector, they're slumped even deeper into contraction territory. PMI dropping. We said that earlier, 46.3. That is big time drop. We'll be careful here for Canada. They're in trouble. They might capitulate here and give in to Trump's tariffs. So this is a really bad deal here. UK Security Minister Jarvis says we will specify Russia's under the foreign influence registration scheme. Wow. They are loading up more, it looks like troops here, armed forces. I'll post that here.
Also seeing China Commerce Minister, trade war doesn't benefit any side, like we've been saying here for weeks.
Wow. That's a big talk there. Yeah, it looks like Newsmax is still pushing here, Hondo.
I gotta add it to my thing here. NMAX. Didn't take me long to learn this symbol.
Man, up 62%. Looks like it has been halted. You can keep your eye on halts, trade halts through our system. as well. We do keep all of the trade halts in Quasar Markets. If you haven't done it yet, sign up. Get a free sign up to go to quasarmarkets.com. If you want the big boy, it's $15 a month, and you get but it is you can actually, I think, you'll probably show you the trade halts here in a second. But yeah. U.S. S&P Global March PMI now coming in at 50.2 versus 49.8. So a little bit tick up.
Okay, we'll take that.
There it is. So it's a little bit better than I think. Yeah. A little bit better than expected.
Newsmax starting to get hit here down at 121.50. Looks like it was stopped at 121.50.
Here we go. It's open up, and NMAX is open up again, and to the downside, and stopped again. So we expect lots of halts today on this one. I had a feeling that there were going to be some sellers in here. That now it's to the downside, and if you're in the system here and you bought some shares up the top, probably could get trapped in there because there's a big gap. Probably all the way down to under 100. So ouch.
We warned it. Do not FOMO into those. You saw what happened to DJT. And it's not just that. Anything that moves up like that.
Yeah.
Natural rules of law. It will come back down. So I'm just trying to pull this up. Q's down, only down 20 basis points here.
I mean,
still down 20. Like I said,
green.
I think, like you said, everybody just sort of waiting to see what we've got going on.
MSTR is holding the upside here.
Yeah, MSTR is holding up. The crypto stocks in general are holding up pretty well here. MSTR still up 1.09%. Mara has given back some of theirs only, actually now down 20.
Come on, NVIDIA. Keep going, baby.
Galaxy Digital, a nice winter day, up 1.12. Clean Spark up 1.19. Cores, which we know had gotten hit so hard, up a little bit here. Seen another halt here. GATU, GATU, also a halt here. Did I spell that right? No, I forgot.
It's up 83 now. Apple is almost green here.
Tick is positive, as Steve said. Advanced decline about negative 1,700. So we've made a nice move the other way. It's a mix of red and green here. You know, again, consumer durables doing pretty well. Tesla leading the way up. Plus, and again, I'm using my Quasar.
Oil is now over $72 a barrel. We said this earlier when on the back of that news from OPEC. So if you're watching the news here, you're watching us. We're giving you the news right as it comes out. Tick now up 400 here.
As Steve mentioned, you know, Quasar Market's using it for all this information. You can see I have my trade halts open right here. You can see where the trades are, 948, 947. You saw Newsmax 945, so it will reopen at 950 here. You know what's going on there. I got what's moving the most here this morning. GRI, the biggest gainer, 154% to the upside. You know, you can see them all here. You got your winners. You got your losers. Biggest loser so far today, CMBM down 54%, APTO down 53%. I've got all my heat maps here so I can say, hey, what's going on? Tesla's up 3.24%. I can click on it. I can see NVIDIA's up, 60 basis points here. Click on it. It will take me right to everything I want to know about NVIDIA on TradingView here. Gives me their overview, financial news, ideas, discussions, technicals, forecast. Again, all of this included with your membership at Quasar Markets.
Yeah.
Latest halt has been that GATU again.
$83,855 here on Bitcoin. And pretty much slowing down here.
Yeah, they are. See, and Macy's has hired Thomas J. Edwards, executive from Capri Holdings, as their CFO and chief operating officer here. So as Macy's goes private, seeing that happen here. So Bitcoin can't break above 83.8 yet. It's tried a couple of times, struggling to do so. Seeing a downgrade to Kroger come across the wire here. KR Kroger. They're down about 37 basis points here this morning. Tick staying positive. Advanced decline trying to move down to about 1,000. Qs have gone positive here.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Look at the Mag 7. Everything's positive right now except for Nvidia and Netflix, and they look like Nvidia definitely looks like it wants to. Struggling to hold above that 108.50 area, but a nice move to the upside. Tesla, nice move to the upside, up 2.14%.
Mag 7s are up. I mean, it's this is markets beaten up so much that maybe you heard it from Barker herself saying, you know what, maybe we messed up, maybe we need better data. Oops, they're saying it more diplomatically, but hey.
Spider Select's now a mix of green and red. We see real estate's gone positive, consumer discretionary positive, consumer staples positive, and utilities positive here. So we are seeing that. Surprise, XLK hasn't gone positive yet, with the Qs going positive. That's the technology sector, usually follows that. So we'll see what happens there.
Silver slipping a bit in here, 33.80 now. I still think it's on the 43. I get it that there's some sellers up there. If they do lower rates, then gold and silver will take a big dump.
I like the fact that the VIX isn't really moving. If it is moving, it's moving a little bit to the downside here, 22.32.
Tick fairly flat here. So obviously, oil's having trouble at $72 a barrel here. So that's another one here for you.
Coach base with a nice move to the upside here, 1.46 this morning. Also seeing BBY, Best Buy, up about 58 basis points. Again, they're one that was talked about. They'll be hurt a lot by the tariffs.
Yep.
Berkshire up 0.5 percentage point. I have to expect a lot of that has to do with the news of their dividend on Coke today. CEG, Constellation Energy, up about 0.5 percentage point. Costco back to 9.54 here, up almost a full percentage point. And CrowdStrike now back up more than 1 percentage point to the upside. On the downside, you've got, again, airlines got hit pretty hard here. You've got Delta Airlines down 5.28%.
Come on, NVIDIA. Let's go. Let's run. Here we go. Tick starting to push up now. 88, almost 88.9. 88.6 now. 83.6 now on Bitcoin there. Come on. Having a hard time today. It's really struggling. I think every buyer has been met with a big seller here, bigger seller than the buyer. So,
yep, absolutely. Also seeing now U.S. closely monitoring China's military activity near the Taiwan-Canadian border.
Pretty quiet, pretty muted morning, though. I mean, there's not much going on here.
No, not at all. We're sort of starting to return to the mean, so to speak, right about VWAP right here on the Qs. SPY, same thing. We've made a move above and below the VWAP on pretty much everything, and now it's sort of moved back towards neutral in general on this. Newsmax now at 128.89. Trying to break back above 130 here. The thing, DXY is not really moving either, which leads me to believe maybe we just see sort of a little bit of choppiness around our current prices on a lot of things. Looking at that 2240 area, not really moving at all. Mag 7, we see Amazon, Meta now have gone negative on the day, along with Netflix and Nvidia. Apple looking maybe to give back its gains here this morning. Microsoft and Google with nice moves to the upside. Tesla the big winner so far, up 1.5%. Yeah, it looks like that momentum sort of slowed down there, Steve. Not much.
Right.
Going back below 83.6, so it can't really hold up either. Gold 31.33. It has gone negative again, 400 or so. Advanced decline back almost at negative 2,000. So we are still
Why I'm not trading anything. I think today is a slow day. I don't think there's much going on today. And I really honestly think that this is the day that, that people just don't know what to do. And it's a good trading day. I mean, if you're scalping fast and you've got big money and you've got I don't like days like this. I mean, I can move those fast tick by ticks and second by second. But the problem here now, it's obvious what's happening here is that there's a big wall of sellers, and if you're trying to buy, they don't know what's going to happen, right? And they're hoping and praying, and we don't believe in hope and prayers in the markets, that the buyer's trying to buy and the seller's trying to get out, and neither side's really pushing right now because they don't know what's to happen. So it's just going to sit right here all day long, and I think that we'll have a melt up in the afternoon, like we did yesterday. And I called that, and I said, look, I think that I think the markets seem to be a little bit off here a little bit, and I'm okay with that. The dollar is 104.38. That was a big buy yesterday. If you wanted to buy the Dixie and go against the peso, and you heard it yesterday from Steve Flanagan, he told you that, right? Pays to watch. And when you see those kind of moves, these are professionals telling you this, not some kid from on YouTube telling you how to make $1 billion, right? It's showing you exactly how these markets work. And so I think that 52.50 on the BXX, I mean, it's just telling you that nothing's happening right now.
Yep. Yeah, we're not seeing the VIX move very much. 22.46 here. Q is pretty flat here. 468.50 area. SPY in that 557, 558 area. So not a ton going on here. We are going to be out of here. We do have Jeremy Vreeland on with the watch list. And then we have a surprise visit by the Prosper Trading Academy guy. Scott Bauer is doing something on Liberation Day at noon. We'll be playing that here. Yeah, and that's what we've got going on today, everybody. Have a fantastic trading day. We'll be here tomorrow morning for all the explosions. Steve, are you ready for it?
I'm ready for it.
Awesome. We'll see you tomorrow.